From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
From drought to blizzards, North Dakota has seen it all.
I guess that the magnitude of it just kind of was a slap in the face.
We visit with one family that has weathered the storms, showing grit with grace. Sticker shock, diesel prices hit another record high, the impact on transportation budgets, and from day to night in an instant.
It was pretty intense.
The cleanup of miles of damage after a derecho tears through what's left behind right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. It's happened again. Another powerful derecho has left its mark on farm country. The storm hitting Thursday evening, sweeping across the northern plains and upper Midwest, bringing with it straight line winds of over 100 miles an hour, hail and tornadoes from Kansas to Wisconsin. And here is what the storm left behind. Aaron Rigsby flying a drone over South Dakota. You see busted bins, buildings with roofs ripped off, and toppled vehicles. Nate Hansen farms in Dale Rapids, South Dakota, giving us a look at what it was like inside the storm as it hit. Now, I spoke to Nate as he worked to clean up the mess left behind.
We didn't get much warning in the first place. It was, I got an alert on the phone, and then I was at work doing something, so I came out to the farm quick to get all the doors buttoned up and whatnot. And I looked out and was like, holy cow, this thing's coming quick. And it was like 10 minutes, and boom, it was on top of us. It was pretty scary, actually. I've never seen anything like it. I'm 44 years old, and that was a first for me, and never seen a wall of dust come in like that. And you couldn't tell if it was a tornado or what was going on because you couldn't see anything. And we got everything kind of buttoned up as quick as we could, and then had to go run for cover because you knew something bad was coming. We had 2 buildings that are complete loss, 2 other ones that got pretty heavy damage, and I'd say probably 20 trees down, something like that. Yeah, nothing like that wall of dust the way it was. It was pretty intense. Like you could see it coming, but then it went completely pitch black. You couldn't see anything. It was lights out, and there was drifts inside the shop of dust and stuff. It was pretty crazy.
From there, the storm pushed on into central Minnesota. Josh Staples of Alexandria showing the impact to his family farm, and before and after pictures of bins at his location. Just about an hour south from this location, the storm turned deadly. Police in Lake Lillian, Minnesota say one man was found dead in the area where a large grain bin was blown over by the storms. Many farmers had a busy week last week playing catch up on planting, but cleanup from that derecho may put a crimp in their plans. Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joins us, and Matt, nothing like that on the way this week, we hope.
Yeah, that's right, Clinton. As we head through this week, it'll be a little quieter, not extreme severe weather expected, but still some thunderstorms could be possible, especially along the northern tier. So we wanted to start you off with a look at our weather headlines, and we've got hot, humid, and dry in the southern United States. Much of the south still going to be dry, especially back in the southwest where those fire dangers will continue. That's part of our weather headlines as well. And we've got showers and a few storms continuing all along the northern plains into the Great Lakes region and over into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast as we head through this week. And if we take a look at our national map, a storm system will be exiting through the eastern half of the country. It'll bring in a little bit of cooler air along with it. Temperatures will fall back a little bit below average for parts of the Great Lakes and much of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. But back in the southwest, it remains dry, it remains hot. And then along the Gulf Coast, it is humid with a few pop-up thunderstorms possible. And back in the Pacific Northwest, another couple of storms going to be moving through, keeping things very unsettled and a little damp as we head through this week. And here's a closer look at that derecho as the front moved into Renner, South Dakota. Wow, look at the power of that storm pushing a wall of dirt out ahead of it. Carl Eliason sharing this video, and Carl says the sky got black just 2 minutes later. I'm going to have more coming up on that derecho and a look at your forecast in just a little bit.
Later today, we'll find out if last week's break from the wild weather in the Midwest had more farmers out planting At last report, USDA numbers show just 22% of the nation's corn crop had been planted, a whopping 28 points off the 5-year average. By now, Illinois is usually more than 58% planted. We asked agmarket.net's Matt Bennett, who also farms in Illinois, if he thinks farmers have made some progress since last week's report.
I could see us approaching this 50% level. The problem is a lot of your maps still are pretty wet whenever you get into that 6 to 10 day window. And so, we're supposed to get rain over the weekend here, for instance. And I know some folks that weren't as fortunate maybe as what our operation has been are going big guns right now. They're obviously a little bit hesitant when we're talking an inch and a half of rain. But at the same time, you look at the calendar, you look at the heat, you got to think that you're going to be able to get this crop up and going fairly quickly. You just hope you don't get a beating rain.
South and North Dakota have seen even more rain recently and are running up against the deadline to plant. Experts say we could see more prevent plant acres very soon. For the second week in a row, retail diesel prices hit new record highs Friday. The national average now stands at $5.62 per gallon, and the price is over $6 in some places across the U.S. That's adding stress to the trucking operations and blowing up transportation budgets of businesses that ship goods, not to mention the added cost for farmers working to plant this season's crops or even livestock haulers transporting animals. The Energy Information Administration says prices are up more than $1.50 in roughly the past 2 months, the surge adding to talk that inflation is sticking around. It's a different story when it comes to shipping things on water, with strict COVID policies in China starting to weigh on shipping costs. Container rates from Asia to Europe and to the U.S. West Coast are down nearly 20% since March. Drewry Shipping Consultants' World Container Index shows worldwide rate averages are at their lowest levels since June of last year. Keeping meat processors open at the height of the pandemic was a topic of much conversation. Now a new report from Congress says the big meat packers made, quote, baseless claims in order to keep them open. The report says the meat processing industry worked closely with the Trump administration officials to push claims of beef and pork shortages. That report alleging that the goal was to hold off health restrictions and keep those packing plants open. That was at a time when COVID-19 was spreading rapidly among workers and some processors were forced to close. At least 269 meatpacking workers eventually died from the virus, according to our partners over at Drovers. Now, the special bipartisan House subcommittee report says the meat industry lobbied to get the plants deemed as critical infrastructure, which the president did via an executive order stating that the plants should remain open. Now, the North American Meat Institute weighing in here. The trade group says that report distorts the truth and ignores steps that companies took to protect their workers. Front-month soybean contracts topped $17 on Friday. We'll talk planting and markets coming up next. And later, spring weather is always wild, and this year is no different. Now, ranchers in North Dakota are dealing with grit through grace in the country.
Find farm equipment on Machinery Pete's May 17th online auction. No reserve, no buyer fees. Start bidding now at auctions.machinerypete.com.
Joe Vaklovic with Standard Grain. Joe, as we talk about what's been going on with planting, obviously we've finally seen some warm weather this week. A lot of folks out in the field. What do you think the chances are of us catching up with kind of average pace here?
I don't think we're going to catch up to the average pace anytime soon, but I do believe that planting has been fairly active and ongoing in a lot of areas this week. There are problem areas, definitely. The northwest part of the Corn Belt is problematic. Southern Minnesota, North Dakota, maybe parts of South Dakota. There is some widespread chatter regarding either switching out of corn into another crop or maybe even prevent plant. You're only a couple weeks away from your final corn planting date in North Dakota when it comes to crop insurance, and a little bit more than that in Minnesota. So there's that sort of chatter floating around, and I don't know if that's realized or not. I have my doubts about whether or not USDA's March intentions were accurate to begin with, but that sort of chatter in itself is friendly because, you know, as most people see it, and we haven't seen USDA's report yet, but as most people see it, this new crop corn balance sheet cannot tolerate lower acres or any sort of big yield problem. It's really tight. So it's an interesting situation, definitely.
Well, and you mentioned that you can't really tolerate, a tighter balance sheet, but we're so far behind now, it feels like that's what we should start to expect here.
Yeah, and I think the market is reflecting that to some extent. We had a sell-off in the corn market to start off this week, and I think some of that had to do with pressure in the outside markets. I think some of it had to do with a better-looking planting window. But yeah, there's going to be questions about the crop. I mean, from now through harvest, people are going to question how big is the crop? Was it a trend yield? Were the acres there? The issue with acres is that we don't get our next update from USDA until the end of June in that planted acreage report. So we're kind of left in the dark in regard to that situation for another 6 weeks now.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of time for people to speculate and try to figure out exactly how many acres went in. Joe, sure appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Yep.
We're back with more Ag Day coming up in just a minute.
For more information about Standard Grain and its services, call Joe at 312-462-4438. It's time to sign up for the 2022 United Pork Americas Conference in Orlando, Florida. Register today at unitedporkamericas.com and join us September 7th through the 9th.
Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik joining us. And Matt, we're looking at the wind reports from that derecho, and you've kind of turned this map here, and it's moving kind of south to north.
Yeah, that's right. It kind of moved from Nebraska and then up into the upper Midwest, and it brought winds upwards of 100+ miles an hour, and it didn't take too long to move through. We're going to put that into motion for you here right now. And here is a look at that storm as it began down near North Platte, moved quickly all the way up through South Dakota and even towards just to the south and east of Fargo before everything was on out of here very, very quickly. It only took a few hours for that storm system to get from North Platte. And here comes that radar loop again, coming all the way through Sioux Falls, up toward Aberdeen, Fargo, and then over toward Minneapolis. And you can see all those wind reports. There was a lot of wind reports, upwards of 100+ and 100+ mile per hour winds in some of those areas, especially just to the north of the Sioux Falls area and into southern parts of Minnesota. Just take a look how quickly that storm system moved. That line of storms was moving between 55 and 70 miles an hour, and on top of that, all of those strong straight line winds and a couple of spin up tornadoes as well. So that was last Thursday into early on Friday. Very, very strong storm. Not going to see hopefully anything like that this week, but the precipitation will be few and far between for back there in the southwest. More though going on across the northern tier, through the Mississippi River Valley and over towards the east coast as well. Here's a look at that jet stream as we've got warm air back to the west, and it's going to remain hot and humid there along the Gulf Coast, meanwhile staying pretty unsettled up in the northern tier. That's going to be the case throughout the week and into next week as well, as another dip in the jet stream kind of moves its way on in by the weekend. Here's a look at the temperatures this week. Above normal in the southern United States, even up the east coast. Below normal, though, up in the Pacific Northwest and northern plains. And here's the precipitation this week. Below normal from Texas and Oklahoma back towards California. Staying above normal, though, where we're going to be unsettled through this week. And then less rain for parts of the mid-Atlantic that saw a bunch as we went through last week. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Ithaca, New York, scattered showers, a high of 74 degrees. Grant, Nebraska, sunny and breezy with an afternoon thunderstorm, a high of 81. And mostly sunny and mild in Evanston, Wyoming, a high of 74.
Still to come, ranchers weathering the recent storms in North Dakota. But first...
Hey, stay tuned, folks. Coming up, we're going to talk used dozer prices.
They may not be as popular for Machinery Pete to talk about, but a couple of workhorses on the farm are turning heads right now.
Well, folks, I've been compiling auction sale prices on dozers and crawlers for over 32 years now. And that fact surprises a lot of people because, maybe because I didn't write about them a lot over the years, but actually if you go to our website, machinerypete.com, click on the auction price link, you're going to find over 6,500 auction sale prices of all types of dozers and crawlers. Now, values have been pretty strong here for the last number of years, and I can give you a few examples from the end of last week. So let's stay on the deer side of things, and last Thursday on a consignment auction in Hazelhurst, Georgia by our friends at Rebel Auction Company, This 2020 John Deere 700L XLT it was showing 87 hours on it. Did have a warranty out to 2025. It sold for $217,500. Now the same sale, they also had this 2021 Deere 650K LGP showing 167 hours. This sold for $165,000. Now the day before that, last Wednesday, on an auction in Peosta, Iowa, a little bit older Deere model, this 2002 750C LGP2, 7,627 hours on it, sold for $65,000. And on another auction that same day, last Wednesday, this just over 30-year-old model, a 1991 Deere 400G with 2,101 hours on it, second owner, sold on an online auction out of Berger, Missouri by our friends at Schneider Auctioneers, went for $24,100.
All right, thanks, Pete. Now, they needed some big equipment recently in North Dakota to help move snow. Up next, how these ranchers survived 2 historic blizzards this spring in the country.
Grit with Grace is brought to you by Zoetis. Your dedication runs deep, and it fuels everything Zoetis does. To protect and support cattle and those who care for them, we are born of the bond. Learn more at bornofthebond.com.
The weather has been absolutely brutal for farmers and ranchers in North Dakota lately. Back-to-back blizzards brought a battle along with relief as the moisture helped to cure an area plagued with drought. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan takes us to western North Dakota to meet a family that's weathered the storm together with grit and grace.
Once you get this far west in North Dakota,
no calf out there older than 2 weeks old.
The rugged ways of ranching on the cusp of the Badlands can be challenging. And this year, calving in the middle of a blizzard came with a battle that was unlike anything many North Dakota ranchers had ever seen.
We were told it was coming. I guess the magnitude of it just kind of was, it was a slap in the face.
Vita Ranch is a family operation that's relied on this land for more than a century. Gene Viter grew up here and now ranches with his son-in-law who's married to his daughter, Jessie. And now that their family is here, Jessie's grateful.
So every day we come to the work that we're doing in the family that we have here from a place of gratitude.
Even when Mother Nature pushes your livelihood to the limits, as the week leading into Easter brought a blizzard of a lifetime.
I think lasted 3 full days.
As snow piled up,
where we're standing right now, I had snow to my waist.
And then just days later, another storm hit, just as the Viters were at the height of calving. But with blinding conditions that even brought ice, back-to-back blizzards were intense.
And the cows were all confused about whose was the mom to which calf, and it was just kind of pandemonium.
And the Viters only had about 20 minutes from the time a calf was born to save it.
We had 2 tractors out there and we had multiple cattle in the cabs of the tractor and trying to get them warm to get them back.
This ranch lost around 10 calves so far, but it's the lives they saved worth celebrating.
And we had every family member in our entryway with a heated floor, and we were scrubbing those calves down, getting them dried off and getting them fed and trying to perk them up.
While some did not survive,
I get a lump in my throat telling you about it.
Ranchers all across North Dakota lost calves in the storms, but there are many more still alive. And that's because the sacrifices that the Viters and other ranchers made. As better days are exactly what's ahead.
We were in such incredible drought.
See, this area had faced a harsh drought for 2 consecutive years.
We were getting our business taken from us with the drought. But I felt worse about the drought than I do about this blizzard. Honestly, I do. That was a hopeless feeling.
While the blizzard robbed them of some new life, it also brought blessings in the form of moisture.
It means not having to sell the cattle for us. If we wouldn't have had rain to grow the grass that didn't grow back in the fall, we had not much left over. The stock dams will be full. We'll be able to keep our herd. That's huge. We had a lot to be grateful for in this situation. We have family around us, we have a lot of help, we had the right equipment, we had the moisture. For me, grit is just being able to see past it, see past the hard time and into the next step. And the next step is gonna be better, we're gonna do this, we're gonna have a plan.
But it takes guts with a fair amount of grit and grace.
All right, thanks, Ty. To see more of these touching Grit with Grace stories we've been airing over the past year, just use the QR code on the screen. And that's all of our time this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day on the farm.